think there we go. So you'll get asked. So welcome to our session today, which is all about passion into profits. Because if you're anything like me, you started your business because there was something that you knew you'd got inside you that you could share, you could help other people's lives. But you're not going to do that for free. We all need to live. We all want to live the fullest life we can, and we do need to make profits to be able to do that. So during the process of this session today, I'm going to take you through 3 steps, breaking each one down as to how we can build on the previous one, so that really we're concentrating on monetizing in a really graceful way. For me, monetizing means allowing somebody to really commit themselves energetically and financially to their next level, and allowing you then to be rewarded for your skills and knowledge. So when I talk about passion and profits, really what comes to mind for me is that you're thriving and not in that survival mode, that you have stepped into a place where you go, this is right. This is what it's supposed to feel like. This is what I see people talking about on social media. It's not that state of chasing and one client means it's tipped into profit just about, but actually there's sometimes when maybe your personal finances are supporting the business. Total opposite to that. The other piece for me is working smarter, not harder. I am many things, which I'll touch on in a second, but for me, my business forms a small part of my life. So I really need to be focused on how I spend my time, what I work on, and ensuring that that makes a difference, so that it isn't time dripping away. I finish my day going, not only have I done X, Y, and Z, but I feel like I've done a good job too. And I'm going to give you some really specifics around that to focus on. And then that last point is, I believe very strongly that we should all be a lighthouse. So let me just describe this analogy, because this is one that tends to lodge with people. So this is a lighthouse as opposed to a rescue boat. Now, when you are the lighthouse, you are literally doing your thing without that much effort. You are stood, you are strong, you are shining your light, you are serving your purpose of keeping those boats safe, but actually you're solid in your own foundation. What tends to happen, and what can happen almost as a default, particularly in the early days, is that we end up being the rescue boat instead. So we're rushing around and we're going to that boat and then rushing to the next boat and reacting and being pulled, and it's exhausting, draining. Yes, it saves those people, but actually we can do it in a better way. So very much keeping that in mind, that actually by turning your passion into a profitable business, you can do it in a way that is really, really graceful and doesn't create that stress for you. Okay, so we have already met in the Zoom room, but if you're watching this on replay and we haven't met, just a really quick one about who am I. So I am a mum. That is my first and foremost, most proud job title, to those 2 boys, which look kind of similar to that. You can never get an up-to-date photo because they're just so constantly changing. I left my corporate life in 2018, not necessarily with a definite strategy in mind. I wouldn't say I'm that person that has the entrepreneurial desire. I ended up in this position to be able to create a balance in my life. I did, however, manage to replace my full-time salary, not like immediately, and I'm not going to paint that rosy picture, but I did. And the beauty of how I did it was that it was working a fraction of the time. Before I left my corporate career, I used to have to travel the country, be away overnight, not see my boys sometimes after school before they were in bed. They were already asleep when I came in, and it never felt right. I felt like I was showing up in each part of my life being extremely average, and that wasn't a good fit for me. So now specifically, I help coaches to achieve that freedom and grow a profitable business that they love. So you get to get up on a morning and go, yes, I'm going to go do that thing. And it excites me. It does not drain you. Okay, so what is that business freedom? Let's just dive into that a little bit more. I really consider your business freedom is that when you have increased your income. You can't have a business that is a charity. That is not classed as a business. They're different things for obvious reasons. So actually making sure that you have an income that not only supports the outgoings of a business, which they're all going to have on some level, but also allows you to bring your kind of pay equivalent, so bring out the profits. You also are in that position where you're owning your expertise. So this isn't you doing all the things necessarily. This is you saying, my zone of genius is here. This is where I shine. And I get to do that as part of my business. I see a lot of coaches become that single point in their business of all the things. They feel they wear all the hats. They're the finance person, the customer support person, their sales, their marketing. They're trying to do all of those things when actually that might not be your zone of genius. Now, often we have to when we first start, of course we do, because we're establishing ourselves and we're building that client base, but it doesn't need to stay like that for long. And if you enter it with a view to being able to actually own your expertise and stay in your zone of genius, it feels really different as opposed to feeling like you have to do all the things. You end up being able to compromise less when you've got true freedom. Now, that could be in terms of your time, that could be what you work on. It can even be the type of clients that you work with. And I will absolutely hold my hand up and say, in the early days, if someone said, yeah, it sounds like you can help me, I would just say, yeah, brilliant, I'll help you. There wasn't the discernment because I felt I just needed that income and needed to get the clients and the experience and all of those things. Whereas when you've got that freedom and that confidence, you can make those informed decisions and you can say, it's not necessarily perfect for me, or these are my boundaries, this is how we're going to work, so that you're not feeling you have to compromise. And all of that ultimately should leave you feeling a level of peace. Not that waking up in the morning and going, ooh, or not that waking up in the night going, where's the next client coming from to pay the next bill? And when you're at peace, you're in that sort of much more relaxed state and everything happens more easily in your life. So in terms of what I do, I bring together my 20 years of corporate experience, which varied from sales, account management, and a little bit of marketing, into 5 years of online business growth investment. And I've played that phrasing for ages, but literally from the moment I decided to start my business, I started investing because I did not know what I was doing. I didn't know how to monetize my skill set. I didn't know how to get clients. I didn't know how to use social media, none of it. I'd been in that beautiful corporate bubble my entire working life, and I didn't know anything beyond that. I knew what I knew. So I've continuously invested, and with the digital marketing processes changing so quickly, I continue to invest as well. So when clients work with me, they get all of that combined. There are specific actionable steps. Those two pictures are days that clients have come to me. They've been long-term clients and we've worked on something very, very specific. And we've come up with, there's always actionable steps. I'm very big into combining, well, what do I do with, well, how do I think about it? So I offer one-to-one support. The strategies that my clients are using have proved to bring them clients and create those thriving businesses. And really what you're getting from me is a cheat sheet. It's a fast track. It's a blueprint for your success. You get to be able to learn from my development and what worked and what didn't. Okay, so let's step into the first level, which is your foundations. Now, I went from absolute employee stress, there was no doubt. I was stretched to all angles, being a mum and trying to lead a team. And I was actually offered a promotion, which was my tipping point to leave. Rather than accepting it, I left. But principally, there is that level of employee kind of mentality, and people get the sense that the stress is applied to them. Now, that's spinning off into a slightly different subject, but when you are an employee, you are answerable to somebody else. However, what can happen is we swap that when we start our own business into owner exhaustion. And actually, it's just a different set of problems. You are your boss. It's your conscience saying you could do that better, or should you be working on that, or is that the right decision to make? You end up multitasking. getting frustrated. And then ultimately, it happened to me, and it happens with lots of the clients that I work with. That moment of, should I have even done this? Am I capable of actually moving this idea, this passion of mine, into something which is going to bring me clients? And as soon as that little grain it takes hold, it just seems to spread, and it can ruin the most amazing talents and expertise, because it just takes too much of a hold, and it prevents us from moving forward. Now, where a lot of that stress comes from is that there's a mismatch. So you might be trying to bring your passion and expertise to a market which maybe you don't connect to, maybe you don't love the ideas that they're bringing back to you, and the whole thing just feels a little bit uncomfortable. I compare this now in this life to an uncomfortable pair of shoes. I don't tolerate it anymore. I used to have to wear uncomfortable shoes every day, and it is exhausting. It's horrible to walk around in a pair of shoes that squishes your toes. Whereas now my mantra is, if I can't wear my trainers, I'm not coming. So having that ability to be able to say to yourself, does this fit? Does this work for me? Actually will remove a lot of that friction, that stress, and being able to use what is unique for you. You've got a skill set, you've got a set of expertise which you've gathered throughout your life. You've probably done additional training, additional ways of being able to present what you do. And that is your unique selling point. It is just your expertise that people are going to benefit from. So ultimately, being able to use your gifts and strengths rather than forcing yourself down another route. And that comes in with self-awareness. And there's a couple of the resources on the pack that I sent you, which can help you to tap into those a little bit more. So the first one that I've mentioned is the Sacred Money Archetypes. Now, don't be put off by the fact that it says, oh, it's money. The fact that it is money allows us to delve into how we think about so many other things. And Ariel, you've done a Sacred Money Archetypes feedback session with me, haven't you? So it's very much a case of, what are my preferences? How do I make decisions? Because money sits at the base of so many different things that we do in our lives, and there are not many decisions that we make that are not based on money. Maybe, do you want tea or coffee? But beyond that, all the ones that count are all going to be money based in some way. So by understanding what your Sacred Money Archetype is, allows you again to see a little bit more about your uniqueness. Well, where are my strengths? Am I using my strengths, or am I actually trying to do something over here when my strengths are saying it's just not a fit? If you've done the Sacred Money Archetypes, or maybe that is something that you just think, no, that doesn't tick a box for me, then simply sitting with yourself and a blank piece of paper and saying, well, what are my gifts? What do people say to me that surprises me, where they go, oh, you're so good at that, or you seem like a natural at that thing? What are other people observing in you, or maybe have in other parts of your life? Because that is your uniqueness. And if you are using that, it honestly becomes so much easier. It's not difficult. It's when you're trying to squash yourself over into a different space on a constant basis, that's where it starts to become a lot more difficult, because it's just a misfit, it's just a mismatch. And then what that process does of that increased self-awareness of, yeah, actually I've got a natural ability to this or that, it helps you to see what you're not necessarily brilliant at naturally, which again is a great thing to be aware of, because now you've got the insights to be able to say, I'm really good at that, but actually I'm no good at that, I probably need some help with it. So now you've narrowed down and said, the thing that I decided to do over here maybe isn't right, so actually I'm going to go over here. I am, as I said, I'm a fitness instructor. I seem to be teaching so much at the moment. Most days I am in a studio with a room of 30 to 50 people, teaching them a body pump class. Now, when I first started doing that, it took all my efforts to kind of stand up in front of them, because it's nerve-wracking and you've got a lot to say, you've got a lot to learn. Then I realised I'd already got the skill set, but I just hadn't brought it into that room. I taught to present, I used to present to boards, I used to do conferences and present to them. So I thought, I'll just bring that skill set in and do it. And immediately the whole thing got easier. Then, yes, it was just the choreography and the kind of technicalities I needed to learn. But you've already got what's in you. So use that and maximize it. It feels so much easier when you do. So in terms of your foundations, how can we build that onto the next stage then? Without having a vision, you are literally going to be living day to day, which is not going to motivate you. On those days where you think, oh, it's not easy, or something maybe doesn't go to plan, if you can hold your vision really, really clearly in your mind, that is going to give you something to go back to go, okay, I remember. Now, I always try really hard not to prompt people in this section because I don't want to create a vision that is not yours. I want it to be you. So maybe it might involve things like working into your retirement, not even having a retirement. It's just something that it's an age. Maybe it's having investments that work for you so you don't need to work so long. Location freedom often comes up for people so you can do what you do wherever. But deciding and being really clear on what's your non-negotiables helps you to bring that then into, well, actually my life goals are this, and making sure they're yours, not the social media presented, here's how it should look. It might be really different for you, and that's okay. Once you're clear on your life goals, that should filter into your business goals, and then that feeds your priorities. Because if you're working on something which you thought was a priority and actually it's a misfit, again, we've got that friction potential. So how do we bring that together into actually doing the do? So in terms of your vision, I always encourage clients to look really super big, really, really big. So is it a 20-year plan? Is it a 40-year plan? What's the really, really big vision? And what are those big numbers? And then we can bring it into something that's medium. So bring it back in terms of the timeline, but maybe a little bit smaller. And then take it into the smaller actions. So you end up with that big, big vision, clarity. Then, okay, well, it's sort of here in that next piece. And then the piece to focus on is just that first stepping stone. So you can see here that the stepping stones further along, so the longer term, they're a bit cloudy. We can't see them really, really clearly. Whereas this first step, really clear. So it doesn't matter that you don't know exactly how you're going to get to those final steps. Your clarity is going to come every time you take a step because it becomes clearer as you progress. Actions will always create the momentum. And if you know you're focusing on that big vision, you can check in again. Is this aligned? Is this off track? Do I need to readjust my course to keep going again? So in terms of the resources to support you for this level, you've got the Sacred Money Archetypes quiz. If you haven't taken it before, I would absolutely encourage you. It takes you about 10 minutes, totally free. I've got the link in the resources book. It's quite fun. It's just one of those, how do I feel about those things? Do I agree? Do I not? And then you'll instantly get your result. When you get onto that page after your quiz, you have the option to book a free feedback session. So that's a really short one where we just look at your top archetype and you just get to understand a little bit more about yourself. Really, really powerful tool though. I loved it so much once I stopped hating it and got cross about it. I loved it so much that hence I've included it as part of my portfolio to be able to support clients that work with me. Okay, so step 2, let me just have a little slurp. Are you liking the nature pictures, by the way? I've tried so hard that all of the pictures have that nature theme. So my client attraction is my bee and my flower. It starts feeling like that in spring, doesn't it? You can kind of imagine it all fitting. So your client attraction is your step 2. And this really is about you stepping into marketing is serving and selling is absolutely that next level of serving. And this, coming back to the lighthouse and lifeboat analogy, this is where you attract. You get to be the lighthouse as opposed to, oh, my dog's just broken in. Are you okay? No. That's good. It's a small person. What do you need? Okay, well, I can't help you with that right now. Elliot will be home soon, all right? Can't get into my Xbox account. It's the end of the world. Oh, bless him. His big brother will be home soon. He will be fine. So when you're serving and you're being in that place of I'm the lighthouse and you're attracting and you're doing all of those things, then that is you allowing your expertise to shine through. It's not you chasing and trying to fix and be, very reactive. It's you being strategic and planning that on a longer term basis. And it's also you being confident in who you are, as opposed to trying to be something that you're not, or fit into a mold that someone else says this particular type of person should fit into. So in terms of some steps then to deepen that for your client attraction, so this is like 101, how do we get those clients to come? Very, very surface level, and there's some more resources that are going to help you with that. Plus there's a ton that I've done on things like client attraction and ideal client. So just ask away and I'll be able to send some other bits to you. But from a very basic level, we really got to establish, who are you serving? Because if you're trying to serve too many people, your message is just going to get lost in translation. It doesn't reach them. It's that wide angle on a torchlight, as opposed to the laser where, yes, that's clear, it's going to pinpoint that person. And when you know who that person is with real specific focus, that's when you can understand their desires. Because the broad brush, well, they might want that, they might want that, it stays at that surface level for them, as opposed to really getting into the deep emotional, how is this going to connect with them? How is this going to change their life? How are they talking to themselves and saying, well, actually, this is the thing that I'd really desire. Once you know that, you can then consider where they are, because they are already hanging out somewhere. They might be online, they might not be online, but they're collating because of some kind of common interest or a common goal, a specific topic that they may be talking about. And then you go to them, because waiting for them to come to you is, yes, that is, I guess, being the, well, I'm going to wait, but actually the bee still goes to the flower, doesn't it? And it goes from that, I can help, I'm going to help the flower by going to it. So when you consider your messaging and being in front of them, think about, why is that you're specifically the person that can help them? Why do they want you? What is it that you're going to bring to their life? And it might be a combination of your experience, your skill set, credibility, your authority, but it might just simply be your personality, and that can be enough for many. Okay, so your offer. Now, so many people, when I connect and I say, so tell me about how you serve your clients, it's always the specifics. Well, there's a 4-week program and we do this and we do this and there's 4 worksheets. Get out of the habit of talking about your offer in that way, because it's dry and it's process driven. What your person wants to see and hear is, well, what's the outcome? Actually, how does what you have fulfill the desire that you already know what it is? So you are simply showing up to show them that they have the ability to achieve the thing that you're going to help them achieve. You're simply going to fast forward that for them. So delivering on their language, deliver their desires, and make offers regularly. Oh my gosh, do it all the time. You're not being spammy. You are just simply showing people how you can help them. And if you don't tell them how you can help them, how are they going to know? So don't be afraid to, when you're posting, when you're writing a blog, when you're updating something on your website, when you're sending an email, wherever you are showing up, tell them how they can work with you. Tell them how you can help them. Because if you're not, then it could be that they're sat waiting, but they just don't know. Yes, there's a value piece in there, and I'm big into making sure that you're leading with value, hence, doing things like this. But equally, don't leave them going, oh, well, that was great, but now what? The harder it is for them to find out, the less likely they're going to be able to do it. So show them results wherever you can. If you can bring this to life in some way and bring it into something that's really relatable for them, that's so powerful. So the people that have a slightly easier job at this is the weight loss nutrition people, those really stunning photos of here was this person and now look at them. It's kind of done for them, isn't it? It's very like, wow, it's impactful. Now, there's not many of us can bring our business into something quite so visual, but keep that in mind. How can you recreate that? How can you describe what that really looks like in a way that makes a difference for them? So it isn't the thing that is the process. It's not the we can do this, we can do this. It's the big, massive outcome. I'm going to show you. So here is Rosanna. She has been working with me for a little while. When we first connected, she worked in a school. So she's a qualified teacher and a high-level teaching assistant, but she didn't like the stress of school for so many reasons. She now has 2 thriving businesses and absolutely still does what she loves because she gets to tutor children privately. And she's able to now take all the knowledge of building a really super... My son is crying at the door. Ruben, I can't help you, darling. His big bro should be home very, very soon. Yeah. So she's running 2 businesses. So the one where she gets to tutor the children privately, she goes to their homes and she helps them with a massive amount of confidence. But because she's built a brilliant, thriving tuition business, she now has other tutors to do the same. So she's taking her skill, her passion, and her experience of having done that herself and does the same. So she gets to serve those people in the daytime when all the kids are at school and serve the children when they're out of school. So those people are following her path. And she works a tiny, tiny amount of compared to what she does. And she doesn't have to deal with Ofsted either, which is a big thing here in the UK when you get audited, and it's horrible and very stressful. So in terms of your marketing, I want to encourage you to find a way to do it your way. Now, your sacred money archetypes are going to give you some insights into this so that you can see what you're naturally suited to and what maybe just doesn't feel like a good fit. But also think about your business model, because your business model and the way that you've thought about your vision is really going to impact the way that you feel good about showing up. And if you feel good about showing up doing certain things, you're going to want to do it more. So if you hate doing things like this and hosting and speaking, like, don't force yourself into that box. It doesn't have to be that way. But also think about the way you're going to serve your people. So are you thinking of a model that's low volume but high contact? So maybe working with people quite intensely one-to-one, going to shut him out. Or are you looking at a lower contact but a higher volume model? Because that way you're looking at things like automation, you're looking at being able to get, you know, a scale in there as well. But actually, if it's lower volume but higher contact, it's going to be all relationship based. It's going to be deepening those connections and having less people in your world. And the way that you go about your marketing will be different for those 2 models. So for me, it's about the relationships, and my last masterclass like this was all about those grow, nurture, serve levels. So growing an audience, nurturing the people in them, and then ultimately moving them to be able to serve them. Connections to clients is key. Now, if you have no connections, they're unlikely to become clients in whatever model. So thinking about how you can maximize where you've already got those connections, where you can look to add those connections in. You know, social media is fabulous. They're there, they're ready. You can search for people, you can connect, you can build all those relationships. You can also then bring them out of social media, which absolutely I would recommend doing. I had in fact, it was just after my masterclass in February. I'm calling it my blackout, but LinkedIn literally just suspended my profile without warning, without any real explanation. And yeah, I had 3 weeks of my account just totally shut down. And it scared me a lot. It scared me a whole lot, because that's been a core way of making the connections, building the relationships, advertising what I do. And it just went overnight. I got it back in the end, but it was a real wake-up call to say, yeah, actually do a bit more of what I say and make sure you've got those people's email addresses and you're communicating with them in another way. But yeah, making sure that you are building those relationships, you're adding those connections on an ongoing basis. In terms of your prioritizing, oh, this is such a biggie. Spend your time wisely. There is a reason why that phrase is true. Spending. You don't get it back. You spend your time. I spent, honestly, months doing a busy day, I sat, I did the work, I faffed about doing different things, but none of it was actually truly productive for a long time, until I realized, actually, I need to look again at how I'm spending my time and understand what brings the connections, what is something that is going to actually generate income. Now, it's not going to be a direct line, but equally you can sit with a task and say, how is this impacting my vision? And going back to that goal setting exercise, that if you created your big goal and then your medium, those smaller steps, is the activity you're doing about moving you towards that? If it's not, could you do it in a different way? And think about how it falls into that. Focus is key. So audience growth, if you do nothing else, audience growth is your primary activity. So whether that's adding people, whether it's going and sharing your message with somebody else's audience, whether it's going to a networking event, whatever works for you, think about audience growth on a daily basis. And it doesn't take very many people. Just adding a few more into your world, once you've got really clear on who that person is, you will very quickly end up having that bigger audience. And then you've got someone to hear your offers and your amazing skill sets. So in terms of resources to support with this level, then, I offer free business growth calls. So you can hop on with me for 20 minutes and we can talk about your client attraction strategy, because this for me is the bit where it creates the lifeblood. Clients will create business freedom for you. If you haven't got those clients coming in, you're chasing, you're stressing. So actually, let's look at making sure that we've got that client attraction process in place. I've also linked you into a time mastery masterclass, which is I didn't do it live. I think this is a pre-recorded, but this very much looks at how you're managing and prioritizing the time that you've got available, which is limited, just like it is for all of us, whether that's because of kids or whatever else is happening in your life. We want to make sure you're getting absolutely the most you possibly can from every minute of the day and creating that momentum really quickly. So I've linked you into that as well. Okay, final step, building a sustainable business and sustainable success. For me, this is all about being low touch. So not creating yourself as that single point of success, but also the single point of failure. You know, what if you broke your hand or your wrist and you couldn't type anymore? What if you lost your voice? What if you just weren't able to work for whatever reason? Could your business still carry on? And those are those questions that ultimately you want to be looking to solve, and building something that you can delegate or delete. I prefer delete, but certainly to delegate. Making your time count is key. So actually being able to see what you're spending your time doing is a really helpful, almost like a time and motion study. And the other massive benefit of this is that you can take what you've effectively established as your working routine and give it to somebody else. This was such a, I guess, a realization when I remember a coach saying, well, if you literally write down all the activities that you do and you document it to the point of having a really detailed process, you're going to be able to hand that over to somebody. So it's not a case of you having to do these things forevermore. This is a case of you saying, I'm testing it, I'm refining the process. Now that I feel like it's a good fit, now can someone else help me with that? So that, again, you're just pulling yourself out of being that single point of everything. And that's where your repeatable tasks can go. The pieces where you're not actually adding anything, you're not being in your zone of genius. We can start thinking about who could. And it isn't always straight away, but know that that's coming and keep it in mind, and you look at your business in a really different way. Your client journey in this sustainability is really key. We have to strategically decide how those clients are coming into our world, how they're then interacting with us through that nurture phase, and then how they're going to ultimately buy. And then are they staying? How are they being served? If you are spraying and praying, if you're hoping, some people go to your website, sometimes you talk about going there, sometimes it gets really confusing, both for you and for the people in your audience. So having a client journey mapped that says, when they meet, when they connect here, they're going to get this, and then they go to here, and then I'd really like them to go and visit this because this is going to be a great thing, and then they're going to do that. So having that, yes, we can create little variations in the journey, but ultimately knowing where they start from and where they're going to get to. Make it as simple as possible. And this is where you can automate some things. So you can get systems to send emails for you. You can set it all up once and then you can copy it and do it again. So every time I do a masterclass, I've got a pro forma. This is the process that me and my VA go through. Here's how we do it. We just change the names, we change the content in between it. It's tried, it's tested, and we can repeat it and use the automation. So it gets to be really easy. In terms of your business models, again, this is your sustainability question. There are lots, and in the workshop, which we did over 3 days, we looked a lot more at business models in relation to sacred money archetypes, actually, because it was an interesting overlap between some that match off and some that don't. So you've got the obvious ones are things like, are you serving one-to-one? Could you offer group? Could you do it online? Do you want to do it offline? Is there courses? Do you want to do a membership? Whatever, again, feels right for you. But I would encourage you not to go with the, well, it feels like maybe I should. Personally, memberships for me is not an option I would consider. I love serving, I love showing up and doing things like this, but I don't like the pressure of the obligation of constantly coming up with new content and constantly being there for these people. I would much rather serve less people in a really more deep way and get very, very intimate with their business and help them on a deeper level than skim the surface. But that's me, and that's because of my personality types. If you're a connector, then you're going to want to serve lots of people and bring all them together. If you're a nurturer, you're going to want to bring those people through as well. So think about, again, what's best. What can you scale? So I've got material that my clients use that's pre-recorded that I don't have to repeat myself. We say, okay, right, we're looking at this part, go and use that resource, and then we'll come back and delve deeper. So I don't have to do the same thing over and over with each client. Ultimately, what you're looking for is a leveraged business. So that is where your time can be used in your zone of genius and not delivering repeated things. Tech is your friend. I know lots of us go, oh, tech, but it can help. It can help streamline things. It can help to enhance your communication. You can set it up and leave it to do its thing. I don't advocate replacing tech with the personal touch. Absolutely not. And I like voice noting, and I like building relationships using messages and things like that. But I will quite often cut in and just do a voice note because it allows a better connection. But that's not to say that there hasn't been some processes already running behind the scenes. Whatever you're repeating, you can probably build technology in to do that for you. Now, this might not be straight away, but certainly when you're looking at where you're spending your time, how you're prioritizing, what's sapping your time right now, is there a way that you can automate it? Okay. So the final two pieces of resources that I've linked you into. The first one is a Client Magnet Power Hour. So this is a one-off coaching session. These two bonuses are paid. So the Client Magnet Power Hour is where we will, in fact, I've got another slide with the detail on, where we will look at your messaging. This is a very focused agenda for these sessions where we look at how you're describing what you do, how you are focusing your ideal person and what you do and bringing the two together, so that ultimately your person goes, oh, yes, this is what I need. So those sessions, to be able to what you'll end up with is an overarching statement, and you can pick out of that for content. You can use it everywhere: social media, websites, intros, elevator pitches, all of those good things. It also allows you to be able to describe what you do with a lot more confidence. So none of the, well, I'll take 20 minutes to describe what I do. No, let's target it, because then everybody knows really quickly what you can do. So these sessions are £97, which is about $123 US. And these are just some of the comments that people have given me about the sessions. They are limited to a certain number per month because, again, I don't do lots and lots of them. So those are bookable. You pay for it as you go, and that's it. It's just a one-off. There's no ongoing obligation to keep going with that. And it can sometimes just be a little bit of a refocus. Maybe if you've got a particular something that you're doing, maybe you're relaunching something, maybe you're opening a course, it's a great time to have some external eyes on how you're positioning your message or your offer. And then the other one, just to touch on quickly, is the one-to-one VIP coaching. So I talked about working intensely with people one-to-one. So I don't work with lots of clients, but when we work together, I become very much part of your business. And this will encompass lots of what we've already talked about. We'll look at how you're identifying your person and connecting with them. How are you bringing them through? How are you sharing your message? What are the pieces that work? What are the pieces that maybe aren't working? Where are you running yourselves ragged that you don't need to? Where can you scale? So that ultimately what we're looking to do is create a predictable client flow. I will not tell you how to obviously serve your clients, but I will tell you and support you in being able to create an offer that's packaged and that looks and feels like something that's going to get your people way more excited. So you get one-to-one dedicated support, and there is an option to take this over either 3 months, which are for those, yeah, I need to get this done, let's go, high energy, ready to do all the implementation people, or you can spread the same package over 6 months too, which allows you to spread both the finance, the time, the energy, and all of the things. So you've got links in the worksheets that give you information on all of those things. So I think that is, yeah, that's